So today's special guest is Daniel Shifman. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing fantastic, bro. Thanks for having me.
Of course, I'm super excited to dive into it. To start us off, do you mind just sharing about yourself, about who you are, who you were, how you got to where you are, and giving the listeners a little background of your story?
Yeah, totally. Growing up, I always lacked social skills. And I really just, struggled with making friends. And I kind of was like a bully in elementary school and didn't have many friends. Growing up, working on my emotional intelligence is something that I've always, strived for and never was that good at. So by the time I got to college, I started to read a lot of books, do a lot of meditation, and little by little, I started to really chisel away, at my social awareness, my self-awareness, and I got better little by little, and I was able to kind of do all this without medication or any of the stuff that kind of the general media usually prescribes to people. In a similar case, for people who have ADHD. And I realized that, all the things that I learned on my own journey, I would be able to go ahead and, transfer that to other people and teach them how to, follow a similar path, and how to also go from someone who really struggles with making friends and having a lonely lifestyle to someone who's able to, connect with people, make impact, and really just, enjoy life at a higher level.
Awesome, man. Yeah, and there's a lot to unpack there. I think starting off, I kind of want to speak on what sparked this change. You said you kind of always strive to build upon your emotional intelligence. But was there one key moment that it was like, okay, I got to figure this out at all costs, or was it kind of just like an escalation of, really having that desire to improve as a person?
So I think that success in any area of life is kind of like a zigzag. So it's you move forward, you move back. So it's hard for me to tell you, I couldn't really tell you that it was just a direct linear journey, up the mountain of success. But I think that really one moment that had a huge impact on me was going to summer camp in the summer of 2013 and meeting and dating this, awesome girl who I had an amazing relationship with. And, that summer just kind of changed my own self-image because I realized that I was capable of, doing so much more in my life, in regards to relationships, in regards to, kind of my mindset, my self-esteem, and that I really didn't have any limits. And a lot of the limits that I was setting upon myself were due to my, past failures and successes. And this kind of shifted like that environmental exposure that I had that summer really shifted my own belief system. And I realized that I just got to start getting after it and start setting a lot higher standards for myself in every area of life.
Awesome. How did you realize that this was the area that you needed to attack? Was it always like the major thing that you were worried about or needed to improve on, or were there other areas and you kind of zoned in on that one area?
So I really chose to start with fitness because, you know, someone that I looked up to around that time was Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I was reading his books and kind of studying his own journey of how he went from, a boy in the army to someone who's a very successful world-class bodybuilder to later an actor and even getting into politics. So that his journey really inspired me, and for some reason, I thought, I want to get into bodybuilding as well. I want to get into fitness. And I pursued a degree in exercise science in school, and I was just immersed in that culture of studying nutrition and fitness, and really spending a lot of my time training in the gym. So I thought that honing in on fitness and really getting after that passion would help me in other areas. But then little by little, I realized that it wasn't enough, that I had to focus on my mindset. I had to focus on kind of my financial success. I had to focus on my relationships. So it had to be kind of a complete picture. It couldn't just be a one-sided thing that I was pursuing.
Mm. I think that's so true too. I definitely relate to picking fitness as the number one thing at the start. For me, that was like I was super insecure in middle school, early high school, and that was my outlet. Like that was my way to build confidence, was to build muscle. But like you said, like you get there to the point where you're pretty strong, you look pretty good, and the confidence still isn't there. And you're so
Right.
right. Once I started like the whole aspect, things started to shift for me. Besides fitness, do you have or do you remember kind of where you started after that, or was it you kind of just took on everything at once?
Hmm. So yeah, so I remember actually, let me get kind of a little bit deeper into that summer and kind of what happened there. So that summer is really when I first started to even, kind of introduce myself to fitness and started lifting weights a little bit. I wasn't very strong. Um, but having that relationship, with this girl that was really my first girlfriend, really kind of opened my mind to what I was capable of, and all the possibilities in the world. So at the end of the summer, she actually, it's funny, she left me. And after that breakup, that's what motivated me really to start really, really working on myself and really kind of to get into self-improvement. It was the combination of, having that experience, but also the pain of the breakup, that really pushed me and ignited that fire inside of me to grow as a man. In fitness, as you said, you felt insecure growing up. It was your outlet. It was my outlet too, because I thought that fitness equals girls, and fitness equals confidence. But eventually I realized that there wasn't a direct linear relationship between the two, that it was, fitness was amazing, but to really succeed in life and to really find fulfillment, you had to dig deeper, and you had to find some sort of meaning to your life, and build a set of core values and core beliefs, that you could live by, and also focus on mastering the other areas. So little by little, I started to get into reading. I started to get into meditation. I started to get into, even like my own faith. And yeah, and it all kind of was just a snowball effect for me, where right now I try to keep things in balance, and I try to grow in every area and make sure that I'm progressing in every aspect, not just one.
Mm. Now, how long ago was this summer that all of that happened?
This was the summer of 2013.
Okay, so about 5 years ago, a little over 5 years. And, clearly you've made some huge steps now in terms of just everything you're doing. And it's really awesome to see you grow. Obviously, I didn't know you back then, but I met you pretty recently. And just in the short period of time, you've kind of made some huge leaps. So to kind of shift towards your change and shift towards your ability to build confidence, I definitely want to provide some value for the listeners in terms of how to do so. And that's clearly something that you're very talented with, something that you've worked hard at. Can you start by kind of just sharing what you believe your definition of confidence to be?
My definition of confidence is unwavering self-belief.
Mm,
That's it. So it's really just knowing exactly who you are, like unapologetically, and unapologetically knowing exactly what you want in life.
mm,
It's just having like a extremely deep understanding of who you are, what your purpose is, what you're capable of, and just having the resolve and the tenacity to just go out and do it and make it happen.
mm. And I
Because
like that
because
word, man. Unapologetically. I think that's super important.
unapologetically, yeah. And first of all, thank you for the depth of your questions. I really appreciate it because it gets me thinking. But um, I'm going to elaborate on that a little bit. I think that in this world, there's a lot of people who understand that confidence is important, but they either are on one end of the spectrum where they're kind of really, they struggle with it, and they kind of have almost like a nice guy syndrome. It's like they're constantly supplicating and like looking for approval. Or there's the people who are, very narcissistic, and they overcompensate. And to be honest, I've been on both ends of the spectrum myself. So I know what it feels like to kind of look around constantly for validation, and just do and be, be pushed over by other people, and just do what other people want you to do constantly, and have no self-respect. But I also know what it's like to just be a complete ass with no respect for others, and just be self-indulging. And it's both on both actually are roots of insecurity, and both paradoxically kind of mean that you're not confident. Because think about it, someone who's truly confident, and someone who truly, has high status in our society, he doesn't need to overcompensate. He doesn't need to be, mean to other people, and he doesn't need to throw anybody else under the bus, because he realizes that true confidence comes from self-improvement. True confidence comes from raising yourself instead of bringing other people down. Um, and really realizing that is that true confidence comes from that never from one is that from that unwavering self-belief that I mentioned, but also from knowing that you're on your own journey, you're not on anybody else's journey, and that you're making strides forward every single day, and you're an action taker, and you're moving little by little. So it's that progressive realization of your own goals that gives you that confidence.
Mm. Now, I've heard both ends of the spectrum where I hear that people think that confidence is something that is just all encompassing. Like you are either are a confident person or you're not. And I've also heard the opinion that confidence is something that shows up in different areas of your life. So someone could be extremely confident walking into the gym, but then when they're out in a social situation, maybe not so confident. And I think there's some truth to both. And I think there's definitely different parts of life where confidence does and does not show up. But what do you think about that? Like, what is your take on if confidence is just this all-encompassing thing where you are, you aren't, or if it's something that is kind of here but not there and there but not here?
So I think that there is, I like it's hard to speak in like black and white terms, but I want to tell you that like it's important to understand the idea of paradox, how you could play with both of these ideas at the same time. I think that there is truth to both, that in regards to being confident in a certain area, I think that part of confidence comes from competence. So being competent, say as a basketball player, when you step out on the court, you have that innate ability to, to win and to kill it. So that's why you have that sense of self-belief in yourself in that certain situation. But kind of the things that I do with my clients and what I offer to them is that understanding that there is subconsciously a hierarchy in our society, right? So when you meet someone, the first thing you're going to ask yourself is this person safe? Like, is this person going to do me any harm? And this is evolution. That's like an evolutionary mechanism. It's going to be something that your brain's going to figure out within the first 1 or 2 seconds. After that, and it's all unconscious. After that, you're going to ask yourself, is this person above me, or is this person below me, or is he on my level? And there's nothing wrong with this. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. It doesn't mean you're judging other people. It's just kind of a innate mechanism that we established over many, many years, thousands of years, to figure out kind of where you stand within the tribe that you're in. And to figure out kind of, it's almost like what Jordan Peterson speaks about in regards to the dominance hierarchy. So there's ways to kind of, there's certain behaviors that are elicited by people who are confident. Like they have a certain body language. They look at people a certain way. Their vocal tonality is kind of in a certain way. They're able to speak more intelligently, more articulately, and with more authority. There are certain signals that they send off to other people that shows, fashion's another one. How you feel, your energy is another one. Whether you have a purpose, your environment, things like that. Really kind of sub-communicate to the world, am I a confident person, or am I not a confident person? So yeah, to really sum this all up, I think that there's, confidence is 100% an all-encompassing thing, and there is a way of building confidence in a process that you could follow. But also, it's important to learn to really figure out, play to your own strengths, and be extremely confident in certain areas that comes from competence.
I like it. Now, I definitely want to dive into, how to build confidence. Quickly before that, I do have a question. So a lot of people say fake it till you make it. If you
Right.
want to be big or if you want to build confidence or something, you need to fake it in order to make it. And you mentioned that body language is a factor, environment is a factor, your eye contact is a factor. Are these things that we can fake it until we make it, or is it something that it's more of a deep-rooted issue that you have to attack first before you present the proper body language, proper eye contact, and everything else along those lines?
So I want to present to you kind of an idea of something that I call the pyramid of influence. So it's almost like a triangle. And when people interact with you, they look at this triangle, and it has almost 4 or 5 different layers to it. And at the top, you have who you are as a person. After that, you have why you say the things that you say. Then it's how you say these things, which is, i.e. the body language, the vocal tonality, the eye contact, the walk, facial expressions. After that, you have where you meet the people that you meet, and what is the context of the situation. And finally, it's what you say. So, most people focus on just what to say, things like that. But really, it's important, to answer your question, it's who you are. What is your identity? So you can, fake it till you make it by trying to improve the body language and all these sub communication skills. That's amazing. That's a lot more impactful than actually changing your words, because, sometimes what people say isn't 100% authentic. But really what matters is, what is your identity? What is your self-image? How do you see yourself? What are your core beliefs? And then figuring out what are your intentions. So I think that it takes a lot of self-awareness to start off before changing any of your actions. And basically working on changing your core beliefs, so your self-image and your worldview. Once you do that, once you have a complete self-image switch, or at least really start to shift away from those self-limiting beliefs that are holding you back, and have more empowering beliefs about yourself and about, the things that happen in your life, you from that place, it's a lot easier to then come from a place of abundance and come from a place of of value and giving value, instead of coming from a place of neediness. And as a direct result of that, everything else will change. So the words are just a side effect. The body language is a side effect. Same with the eye contact. It's easier to hold eye contact with someone when you know that you're giving value instead of you're looking for their approval. It's just a whole different thing, and it's a lot more natural that way. So I believe that starting, the things that I teach my guys is to start with their self-image, because everything else comes from that.
So for someone who really struggles with confidence and struggles with their self-image, is there a step one that you'd recommend to work on that? Or do you have, a series of things, or is there anything that you'd recommend in general?
100%. So thank you for asking this amazing question. I think that a great place to start is to, there's several things you can do, but I think the first one is just being really honest with yourself, and kind of going about it in like a Socratic way. So asking yourself, am I human? Of course you're a human. Do humans make mistakes? Yes, humans make mistakes. So if using that understanding that, yes, I'm a human, and as a human we make mistakes, could some of my beliefs about myself and the world be false? Yes, they could be. So just instead of someone forcing this upon you, you really just digging deep and figuring out that, okay, maybe there are some holes in my own belief system. Maybe my belief system is not true. And as Tony Robbins says, a belief about something is just a feeling of certainty about something that has been kind of confirmed by real world experience. So say, for example, someone feels that they have low self-esteem, and they act like someone who has low self-esteem, and then, they're rejected by women. People don't want to be friends with them. They kind of turn down in job opportunities. And this only kind of reaffirms and reconfirms their own belief. And it's a positive feedback loop. So I think that the way that they could do it is to figure out that, hey, they might not be right, and that their belief system might be complete bogus, and that they maybe should try to basically internalize for at least and use a hypothesis of a new core belief, a new, more empowering core belief, and then go out in the world and test it. So say, for example, you feel like you have low self-esteem. For at least a week, pretend like you have high self-esteem and see what that's like, and go out and test that, and see how the world responds. Because it's not just about faking it till you're making it. It's about testing out that new belief. And once you get that new response, you start to really root that in. So that's a good way to go about it.
Yeah. When it comes down to it, I want to hear your opinion. Do you think that it's better to dip your toes in, then put your foot in, then your ankle, then your knee, then your whole leg? Or do you think it's better to just dive into it and just expose yourself all at once?
So to, you're saying in the context of like being confident and like changing your self-image.
Yeah. So, for example, you said, if you believe that you have low self-esteem, pretending for a week like you have high self-esteem. So would that be, starting off just kind of talking to someone random at the grocery store and trying to hold a conversation, or would you recommend going full-fledged, going out to a bar or something and just completely surrounding yourself with, every opportunity possible to pretend like you're confident?
So I think that it's important to take baby steps, and I think that the idea of brick by brick is important here, because someone who really, really, has social anxiety, he can't just dive in. He can't just go from, someone who can't even leave the house to just going to Club Live in Miami and just approaching supermodels. It's impossible. It's overwhelming. But I think a lot of the lack of confidence, in a big part, comes from a deep-seated fear of rejection. So, and this is not just rejection in relationships, but just rejection overall. And learning to lean in that edge and embrace that kind of that challenge is going to be one of the biggest impacts to someone's confidence. Like associating pain with being in your comfort zone and associating pleasure with moving out of that and moving towards that edge and leaning into that sword, is, I think, will help people a lot. And it starts with baby steps. Do what is easiest. So if it's talking to, just one interaction with a friend, being going into the interaction with a belief of this person enjoys my company. It doesn't even have to be you that I'm very confident. It could be they just enjoy my company. And coming from that place, seeing how different the whole dynamic of the interaction goes.
I love that. And I got to agree, because I think fear of rejection is such a huge thing,
Hmm.
especially, something I experienced. And it went along the same lines of taking baby steps of when I started Early Risers. It wasn't doing a live stream, or it wasn't speaking in front of an audience of 100 at first. It was just a blog post. And it was nerve-wracking. It made me nervous. And then when I found out, hey, I'm still alive, people may be judging me, but I'm still alive, and it's not changing my
Yeah.
life at all. And then moving on to, creating a video or editing and posting my first podcast. And it's just, you're right. It is all about the succession of mapping that out. Now, when you work with people, do you have them kind of map out those stages, or is it kind of just you approach one situation at a time and then plan when you get to that point?
So it's all like the way that I do my coaching is very individual based, but there is some sort of framework that we follow. Like we would start with, self-image, figuring out, what are my core beliefs and building a very empowering and healthy self-image. Then we kind of move on to, finding your vision for yourself, finding your purpose, setting goals for myself in every area of life. Because I think a big part of confidence is not just the way you see yourself, but the direction that you're going in creating, a path for yourself. And then we move on to, it starts kind of from inside, and then we move outward into, just creating, an amazing, fruitful lifestyle for yourself, building a great social circle, improving your relationships, mastering your finances. So confidence, all encompassing. It's not just one thing.
I love it. Now, you have the idea here of purpose and presence, and that these are two powerful things when it comes to building confidence. Do you mind just taking a few moments to share a little bit about each, and maybe, how you can start implementing this into your life?
Yes. And I want to tell all of your listeners that, guys, I think that the two quickest ways and the two most important ways to become a confident person is to have a purpose in your life, something, some vision for yourself that you're striving towards. Because when you have a purpose, you know, it's almost impossible to be needy in relationships. It's kind of hard to not be on top of your fitness and on top of your diet. It's because this is something that you are so passionate about, and it typically a purpose is a way that a legacy that you want to live. It's an impact that you want to make on the world, and it's the gift, your own unique gift that you want to leave behind. So the way that you could find your purpose is that I take my guys through a 3-step formula. The first is writing down what are 5 to 10 passions that you absolutely things that you're absolutely passionate about. So it could be, kayaking, it could be, skiing, it could be sales, it could be dating, it could be just, going to networking events, things that you love to do. And if money was not an issue, like these are the things that you would be doing all day long. The second are your talents, like inherently, what are the things that you are good at? Like what were the gifts that you were born with? And write down 5 or 10 talents that you have. And the third is a concept that I call high income skills. And this is a skill that allows you to make at least, $10,000 a month. So some examples of these skills, and mind me that this is not a job, this is a skill. This is literally like a skill set and value that you could bring to the overall economy. And it's sales, email marketing, copywriting, public speaking, social media, authorship, just skills that, that, for example, entrepreneurs have, or, really successful executives have that most people do not have. So rather than focusing on, getting the best job that you can, diving deep inside and honing down these skills and mastering them will just give you so much more leverage over, everybody else in the marketplace, because you have, you're a good salesman, social media, and you're a good email marketer. You already have an amazing foundation to either, get a great job, that will allow you to have great success, or just be an entrepreneur. You have kind of the tools and the iron to go into battle with. Now, combining these 3 things allows you to find your purpose. So it's something that you're passionate about, something that you're good at, and combining that with a high income skill. So for example, say that you are really enjoy dating and you really enjoy going out and, talking to women, and it's something that you're good at, but you also know how to, for example, you're a great writer. So you can start writing ebooks, and this could be your purpose, is to reaching the world through the outlet of writing, through the outlet of, blogs and ebooks, and following this path. This is your own unique path. Or for example, you are a great basketball player and you are really good at creating online courses, which is also kind of a high income skill, and you're talented at it. So building using that high income skill, combining that with your passion, an amazing place to start.
I love
And
it.
that's in regards to purpose.
Yeah.
And I want to add to that your purpose it's not like an end all be all. Like you say, you start with, being a dating coach, or you start with being a online fitness coach, or doing something like Skylar's doing. Eventually you might kind of pivot and move to a new direction. You find something that's even deeper and even closer to your core and to your truth. So it's an iterative process, but it's all about taking that first step, and it's all about, just diving deep into it.
Mm. That's a last powerful note too, on the fact that like you shouldn't let the idea of you have to nail your purpose down on the first try stop you from starting out and just trying different things. I think that's super strong. Okay, so purpose, awesome, amazing, and super powerful. What about presence?
So the other idea, and this is kind of the concept of paradox, right? So I think that the most successful people in the world are able to play with the idea of paradox. On one hand, for example, they are super ambitious, super driven, but at the same time, they're carefree. They have that magnetic personality. They're not needy. They're not attached. They're okay with not hitting their goals. Same thing here, is that I think that the core of confidence comes from knowing exactly what you want and having a massive goal, massive vision that you're striving towards, and that you're just dominating, your journey every single day and moving towards it. But at the same time, you're present every single moment. You're enjoying every single step that you take, and you're not letting the outcome overwhelm you, but you're just in the moment and you're flowing as the journey goes, and kind of getting that full enjoyment and fulfillment from each step along the way. Now that's the basis of presence, right? So you're on the path to your purpose, but you're present as you are getting there. And you could kind of learn to be a lot more present in many different ways. And what presence means is that you're not in your head, you're not in the past, you're not in the future, you're in the moment. And your mind you're not being controlled by your mind, but rather you are using your mind as a tool to achieve the things that you want and the goals that you want. So certain ways that you could do that, one is meditation. Meditation is something that really, really helped me out, is, integrating that into your morning routine. This is something that Skylar talks about, how meditation is an amazing way to just give you a head start and to prime you for success and just being a better kind of on a better emotional plane. The next is gratitude. I think a really good way to become present is to, instead of thinking about what you don't have, take a moment to just appreciate, the life that you have, the goals that you have, the people in your life, the bed that you're sleeping on, the clothes that you have, everything, material, non-material. What am I the most grateful for? What am I the most appreciative of? Next is body language. I think that body language is something that is huge and greatly underestimated. When you have poor body language, when you're closed off like this, when you're leaning forward, you're avoiding opportunity and you're in your head. So typically the people who have the most fidgety and nervous body language, right away, that they're not in the present moment. So having open, tall, and relaxed body language. So that's kind of a formula that you guys could follow. OTR, open, tall, relaxed. If you walk, you sit, you stand, open, tall, relaxed, shoulders back, chest up, chin up, literally scanning through your body and making sure that, nothing, you don't have any cramps, that you're not fidgeting, you're not tightened up, and just relaxing your body. Just being totally relaxed in that moment allows you to actually be in the moment and be present. Another thing, a fourth one that I'm going to add is breathing, and that kind of goes along with your body. So breathing instead of rather through your mouth, and it's something that I'm working on as well. And I'm not really the best at it, but breathing with your nose into the bottom of your stomach. So just inhaling slowly, exhaling slowly through your nose into the very bottom of your diaphragm brings you back into that present moment and takes you out of that fight or flight state. And a final one that I'm gonna add to this is just appreciating and really mastering your five senses. So when you're going through your day, like when you're having a meal, enjoy the meal, enjoy it. Enjoy the taste of, the salad that you're eating, and really focus on just savoring every single bite. When you're outside, enjoy the trees around you, smell the fresh air. Don't just run through your day, smell the flowers, enjoy every single aspect of the journey itself and be present in it. And, by doing these couple things, the meditation, gratitude, body language, mastering five senses, and breathing, that's a really good place to start in terms of getting yourself back in the moment and back in your body.
Wow, man. I love it. Now, before we go into the last section of the podcast, you dropped a ton of value today, and I think it could be a little overwhelming for people just because there's so much, like even I'm learning a ton just from this episode. So do you have a first step, a recommendation that if listeners are struggling with their confidence, just one thing they can concentrate on doing once they're done listening to this podcast?
I think that they should start with, as I said, just presence and purpose. There's nothing more to it. So focus on, use the exercise that I gave you where you have your passions, your talents, and high income skills. Figure out, do the exercise, figure out 5 things in each of these categories, see where they could overlap, what you could start with. So instead of kind of going the route that everyone tells you to do, getting a job, staying in that job, figure out, what is it that you truly want? Ask yourself that question. What is my own vision for myself? So figuring that out and then just laying one brick down today towards that vision. That's it. And then another one tomorrow. You don't have to do a lot. If you realize that, okay, something I've always pined for was being an entrepreneur and I want to start a fitness business, just creating a website today. That's it. Tomorrow, making one blog post. That's it. And that's in regards to purpose, and doing that every single day. Now, in regards to presence, also choose one of these things that you could work on. Don't try to do everything right away. Start with gratitude just today, or meditate just today for 5 minutes, and then incrementally add in a little bit more as you move forward and improve each of these practices. So you don't want to overwhelm yourself. You want to focus on what's the easiest way for me to get started, the easiest way for me to kind of take action and basically accumulate these small wins. So just get one small win in regards to the presence and one small win with the purpose. That's it.
I love it, man. So for the people interested in finding you, where can they do so?
So my website right now, I'm actually working on it, will be everlastingconfidencellc.com. And my Instagram is Daniel Jacob 2040. And on Facebook, you could find me also at Daniel Jacob.
Perfect. And I'll include all those links in the show notes. Now, every week we have a question on the podcast. So this week's question is, you can only eat at one restaurant for the rest of your life. Which one is it?
Wow, what a good question. It's really tough for me to answer. But there was this Greek restaurant. I don't remember the name of it. It used to be in New York. It's actually not even there. It's in Manhattan. And they had the best spaghetti with the best grilled chicken. And they had amazing salmon. And it was just really healthy food that just tasted amazing. And it was like, very high class cuisine. So if I could eat there and, have a personal chef from this restaurant, I would be doing it every day.
Love it.
Yeah.
And then we also have a section on the show called My Current Obsession. And basically the question is there something that you are currently obsessed with, whether that is a song, a color, a person, a place, just something you've weirdly invested yourself in for however long?
My current obsession. So I'd say I'm a little bit obsessed with two things. One is sales in regards to business and just like learning everything I can about sales, reading tons of books, and just really mastering that high income skill. And the second is boxing. Like I love to box and I think it's amazing cardio. And I study, guys like Muhammad Ali, Conor McGregor, practice almost every single day. And it's just another kind of skill that I really want to get good at.
It's awesome, man. It's funny because I'm kind of along the same lines. Like I'm just looking to invest in some boxing gloves and I'm getting into it as well.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, I mean, let's do it
Yeah, let's
sometime. Let's
spar it
spar
up, man.
sometime. Yeah.
Let's get it. Awesome. And before you leave, do you have a final message for the listeners?
Yes. My message to your listeners will be brick by brick. That's it. Realizing that it's not going to happen overnight. It didn't happen for me overnight, and I still have such a long way to go in terms of my journey, even in regards to my own confidence. I still have insecurities. I'm still far from perfect. I still sometimes, feel thrown off by things, and I haven't fully mastered my emotions. But it's all about taking a step every single day, and the second is just being honest with yourself, realizing that you yourself are not perfect, also that you have things that you could work on, and really doing that, the introspection as to what that is. That's really it.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks for coming on the show, Daniel. Really appreciate it.
100%, Skylar, and thank you so much for having me, and I really enjoyed this.